Today on the table, we have Glock G Series pistols. And the reason for this video is not because we're going to go over them, and I can very briefly, but I would like to get everybody's opinion and my thoughts and everybody else's thoughts on what they think is going to happen when the G Series ends here at the end of this year and the new V Series comes out. So I don't know if anybody's noticed or had seen, but this month Glock announced that they are going to end the G Series, and it was basically from federal pressure because of how easily their pistols can be modified to be automatic firing pistols. And obviously that has been more of an issue here in the last 5 or so years, or maybe 10 years, than it ever has, back in the 80s and 90s. Nobody was doing that, or really never knew that that would be an option. So they are going to make, that change, and they're no longer going to offer these G Series models anymore. Obviously all of their models, and they're going to convert them all to the V Series, which is the new frame that is unable to be modified into an automatic pistol. Now, as a collector, as you guys have all seen in my videos, or if you're new to the channel, you may look back at some of my older videos. I am a collector of older pistols. I'm a collector of really just any kind of pistol. And Glocks, for collectors, aren't collectors' pistols, right? I mean, maybe if you get like a Gen 1 first edition of, like of a 17 maybe, because that's been around for so long. If you got a Gen 1 of those and it's, maybe still new in the box, that might be kind of collectible just because that's kind of cool to have because it's so old. But they're not, right? I mean, these pistols are polymer. They're $400 to $600 brand new. And then used, they're $300 to $500. There's just not anything there to be collectible 50 years from now, possibly 50 years from now. There's just not going to be much collectability to them, or at least that's what everybody had assumed, and why people don't buy them to collect them. But interestingly, though, is because of the new news here just this month, even me talking to my friends at my local gun store, some people online, that we really feel as though that because of that change, people are going to want what they can't have or want the older ones. And they're going to go back and they're going to want to buy these models. These are the more popular or the most common models. So we have a Glock 17 here. We have a Glock 19, which is the same gun. This is just a shorter frame. And then this is a Glock 44, which is a 22 caliber. And then this is a Glock 21, which is a 45 ACP. So really we're looking at the ones that are the most common of them. And sure, the ones that maybe could be more collectible are like a 31, 34, where you get that longer, really long, extra long 9mm frame, or the 357, which is kind of an odd caliber to have in a Glock. It's not a rifle, it's not a revolver cartridge, it's more of a SIG cartridge, but either way, those could be a little collectible just because they weren't made as many, and they're just not as common. But for the standard ones that you see, there's a chance that the value of these actually could increase, because if you look at like Buds, which is more of a wholesale place, or some other places online, even Cabela's and some other ones, they're basically selling out of all their new models of the Glock. So like if you try to find a Glock 21 Gen 5, that's pretty tough to find right now. And a Glock 17 brand new in a Gen 5, or what, I guess it doesn't matter what gen you're looking for. This is a Gen 3 actually, but if you were looking for a Gen 5 of either of these, they're getting much, much harder to find, and places are selling out as the year ends. And I think on the secondary used market, we're really going to see a lot of people just buying used ones here toward the end of this year, and then obviously for the next 6 months or 8 months, when people realize that they're, going to be harder to find and they won't be able to get them again. And I've looked too. If you go like on Gunbroker and things like that, almost all the 21s have bids on them already, and a lot of the 17 and 19s do as well. So I think we're kind of starting to see that there is a change in the fact that we are going to, they may go up a little bit in value. And in my opinion, I think that the used market for these specific models and a couple others, I think probably by this time next year, when those are no longer available, that the used ones will be probably close to retail again. I think you will have to pay basically a retail price for a used version of these models. I think their prices will go up that much. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just have a feeling that's the case. And I think as time goes on and people buy even more of them, or they're even harder to find because people are buying them, they may actually get above retail in cost. And that was really the main purpose of this video. and I can go back over, like, this is a 17, this is a 19, this is a 44, which is a 22 caliber. These are obviously both 9s. And then this is a 21, which is a 45 ACP. But I'd love to hear in the comments all of your thoughts on, let me know what you think. Let me know which ones you have, models you have, and then do you think that the values of any of those pistols that you own, or like I mentioned before, used ones or the new ones, what's going to happen? What are your thoughts on what's going to happen? So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.